Here's a look at today's headlines across Houston. Hello, I'm Len Cannon. KHOU 11 was first to obtain a search warrant revealing what the FBI claims they found in Lorenzo Salgado's van. That's the man who was shot and killed by ICE agents. ICE previously said the FBI's role was to investigate the potential assault of an ICE agent by Salgado, who was driving. But the search warrant affidavit focuses instead on claims the feds found drugs in the van. Investigative reporter Jeremy Rogowski with the details.
The FBI search warrant affidavit was filed Tuesday under seal.
Which is normal, but somehow is being made public, which it is not normal.
What's also unusual, says KHOU 11 legal analyst Carmen Rowe, is the focus of the search warrant. An FBI agent claims he viewed 3 plastic bags on the dashboard of Lorenzo Salgado's van and a 4th bag on the passenger floorboard containing a substance consistent with methamphetamine.
This appears to be an attempt to get a different narrative out there and shift the focus away from this shooting.
The official ICE narrative has remained the same, that Lorenzo Salgado weaponized his van in an attempt to run over an ICE agent, and ICE shot him in self-defense. But the search warrant affidavit only says Salgado refused to stop and instead drove over a median in an apparent attempt to flee. It also states, pursuant to ICE policy, the officers did not pursue the vehicle. That contradicts what surveillance videos show. Salgado's van pursued by 2 unmarked ICE SUVs for several blocks in Houston's East End.
That's something that is concerning because these are federal agents who swear out these affidavits before a federal judge that they're true and correct.
Jeremy Rogowski with that report. KHOU 11 legal analyst Carmen Rowe also says the search warrant indicates the FBI investigation is much bigger and there may be other search warrants filed, but so far we've yet to see any in public court records. The FBI not commenting on the affidavit. Community advocates say the claims of drugs in the warrant need to be vetted. They say because the federal government has kept so much evidence close to the vest, to suddenly announce allegations of drugs in the van is hard to believe.
They're talking about transparency, they're talking about accountability, and putting out sound bites as a federal investigation is the exact same reason why we do not trust this investigation to be full or transparent.
I think even in situations where you have the federal government that maybe has jurisdiction over being primary lead on an investigation, you usually still have other local law enforcement officials that are invited into the room.
Advocates say other agencies have long asked for access to evidence and information, including the van, so they believe there's been a lack of trust from the start. Well, the World Cup is almost over, but law enforcement continuing to focus on crimes that happened during the tournament. The Montgomery County Precinct 3 constable says they've arrested dozens of people in a sex trafficking operation. Troy Kless has the story.
Human trafficking enforcement often ramps up during major events. The World Cup is no exception, which is why many agencies plan for an uptick. The Montgomery County Precinct 3 Constable's Office began planning months ago.
We knew large international events attract visitors from around the world, but unfortunately, they also attract criminals who exploit vulnerable people for profit.
Collaborating with multiple law enforcement agencies, Constable Ryan Gable announced 61 arrests and 79 charges filed with the Montgomery County District Attorney's Office.
Most importantly, 28 victims of human trafficking safely recovered and connected with organizations that can provide the care, protection, and support they deserve.
The victims in their 20s and 30s, with one as young as 18 years old. Investigators say victims were trafficked from across the country to the Woodlands area.
And the market for commercial sex exists because there are people who are determined to buy it. And just as those folks are committed to breaking the law, we are committed to holding them accountable.
Many of the suspects were named, though not all are in custody, part of the work that law enforcement continues to do every day to limit crimes of exploitation.
If you're one of those individuals, our message is simple: we're coming for you.
Those operations don't stop even when the World Cup is over, and investigators will continue pursuing the suspects. In Montgomery County, Troy Kless, KHOU 11 News.
Where does the time go? Houston ISD is less than a month away from the first day of school, and despite a state investigation, the district says It plans to move forward with its new program for special education students in the fall. Gochi Iloka shares some of the concerns we are hearing from parents.
A couple we spoke to says their daughter Wyatt currently has an IEP or plan for her special needs that's about 30 pages long. Now, HISD says that students with special services outlined in their IEP will still continue to have those services even if their campus changes in the fall. However, Wyatt's parents says they are still very concerned about whether all of her accommodations will be met or not. Wyatt is a rising second grader with cerebral palsy and epilepsy. Wyatt's parents expected her to return to Field Elementary School, where they say she's been thriving the past 2 years. Instead, they learned in May that Wyatt would attend Wharton Dual Language Academy this fall as a part of HISD's special education changes. For families like hers, the timeline for the new special education program is raising urgent questions about whether classrooms, staff, and supplies will be ready before the first day of school.
We don't know the nurse. That's really important for a seizure disorder. We don't know what the classroom's going to look like. Will it have the chair that Wyatt will need so she's stable when she's sitting and learning? I mean, simple things like that. Will the restroom facilities be, easy for her to use, that kind of stuff?
Yeah, and that requires a lot of investment from the district and from the individualized schools.
While HISD plans to roll out their Student Success Program this upcoming fall, a federal investigation is looking into whether the program itself violates disability laws for special needs students. Reporting outside HISD's headquarters, Ugochi Iloka, KHOU 11 News.
That is a wrap of your Houston headlines. I'm Len Cannon.
I'm Chris Lawrence with your top stories in North Texas. Carmelo Anthony was convicted of murder in Austin Metcalf's death and is serving a 35-year sentence right now. Jobin Puttaker has details on his appeals and the involvement of a new judge.
1 month after Carmelo Anthony's conviction, there are 2 motions from his new defense team. One for a new trial, the other for a new judge. Cody Kofer is a defense attorney who specializes in appeals. He says the recusal motion of Judge John Roach will happen first.
So we have a tighter clock on this recusal than we might in some other situations, but the law always requires that recusals are addressed quickly.
The defense argues the judge's actions during trial and statements made after are ripe for appeal. On Tuesday, an administrative judge just assigned Senior Judge Sid Harrell from the 4th Administrative Judicial Region to handle the recusal motion. Judge Harrell oversaw the Uvalde school shooting case. Judge Harrell is also not from North Texas.
I suspect he has a reputation for being, fair, being well-reasoned, and he has experience in high-profile cases.
The defense argued in its motion for a new trial that the court restricted public access and that the defense tried its case under, quote, unrecorded agreements that weren't followed. Cody tells us these agreements between state and defense happen all the time, but mostly about logistics, rarely evidence.
The idea that there is going to be a very sweeping and broad agreement about a class of evidence and that just being a conversation off the record in chambers, that's unusual.
The new defense team argues the breakdown in the agreements and expedited schedules resulted in Carmelo Anthony getting only 10 minutes to decide whether to testify. We asked Cody if this is appealable.
It absolutely may be a legitimate grounds for appeal.
The Collin County DA's office sent us this statement. The defendant's new lawyers have filed a motion containing several inaccurate characterizations of the trial proceedings. I and the entire prosecution team conducted this trial ethically and in full compliance with the court's rulings and any agreements with the defense counsel. Motions for a new trial are very rarely granted, but this is not just any trial. In Collin County, I'm Jobin Puttaker.
Governor Abbott unveiled his Texas affordability plan in an effort to reduce costs statewide. He's honing in on home and car insurance. The plan awards safe drivers with lower premiums and establishes a roof fortification program to reduce insurance claims. The governor says he wants to create a new appraisal process to bring down home insurance costs. It would drop the cap from 10 to 3%, only allow appraisals once every 5 years, and eliminate all school property taxes. The state would then make up that funding gap.
Admittedly, listen, this is going to cost about $10 billion. If you look at what the Texas budget surplus is right now for each of the past 4 years, the budget surplus alone would have been enough to pay for that. However, we know we can't always bank on that, and that's why I'm working, as well as I know the Lieutenant Governor and Speaker are working, on ways in which we can cut state spending in areas that do not involve education.
His Democratic opponent, Gina Hinojosa, just unveiled her economic plan last week. She wants to use money from the state's rainy day fund to give each household $1,500 with the idea a one-time rebate will help families deal with higher costs right now. Neighbors are making it clear data centers aren't welcome in Hood County. As Luke Clary explains, they're making it difficult for some of these projects to get off the ground.
The data center fight in one county boiling over on two fronts. In court, a judge dismissed a lawsuit that was trying to force Hood County to approve two proposed data centers. County Commissioner Nanette Samuelson was named in that lawsuit.
Do you see this as a win?
I think it was clarity.
Samuelson says there are 9 to 10 different large-scale projects proposed in the county spanning more than 8,000 acres.
There's a difference between bringing commerce and business into a state, which is, I think, a good thing for Texas. It's just a different, exponentially bigger than anything that these small communities are prepared for.
In the lawsuit, the developer argued Hood County missed a legal deadline, meaning the project should already count as approved. It said data centers bring billions in tax revenue and tens of thousands of jobs to Texas. The developer did not respond to our request for comment and can still appeal.
But the courtroom fight is only half of the battle here, because across town in the city of Granbury, citizens filed petitions to recall the mayor and several members of the city council.
Dan Fauber lives near the proposed data center site in Granbury, land the city annexed for the project.
Somehow you have to communicate to the local politicians, we're really upset and your job is at risk.
The city says it hasn't approved any data center yet, and that it annexed the land to put city rules on it that the county couldn't. It didn't respond to our request for comment on the recall petition. Two fights in one county still unresolved as the data center debate continues nationwide. In Hood County, I'm Luke Clary.
The cleanup is now underway after 9 World Cup matches in the past month. Crews just removed the tarps covering up AT&T Stadium's logos and name. FIFA removed those during the tournament, and the venue was called Dallas Stadium. Didn't seem to matter that it's actually located in Arlington. But technicalities aside, we really loved having so many fans from all over the world come and see what the Lone Star State is all about.
And I love how North Texas has embraced how special soccer is. Everyone is getting in on it.
It's been incredible. Let me tell you, the fans coming here from all over the world.
Today, this is the center of the universe here in North Texas.
It was amazing. And when I walked up to it, it felt so gigantic and like another world almost.
Never seen anything like this, Texas, the real experience.
It's going to be very hot.
Caliente, man.
I enjoy the energy of the fans, you know.
Coco, you said you wanted to try
big beef.
Big beef. That is steak, that is hamburger, that is brisket. We can help you out. You're in the right place if you want big beef.
The people here,
like Dallas, like sports event is amazing, excited.
I fell more and more in love with the Americans the more I am here.
I'm just never going home ever. I might stay in Dallas.
I want to stay.
You want to stay?
Yeah.
Today in Texas, in Dallas, Viva Mexico!
This is extraordinary power and connectivity that reminds us that what unites us is far bigger than what divides us.
I'm emotional. It's our last one.
You have tears in your eyes.
Yeah, there's nothing else.
And I can't hear a word you're saying, but I think you guys
got it out to me, and this has become Soccer Central.
Man, it's getting louder in here already.
I feel like alive. Like I feel like I'm with people that I know I have a hobby with.
Thank you, Dallas!
Wow, what a month it's been. Would love to do it again one day. And those are your headlines from North Texas.
Hello, everybody. I'm meteorologist Jesse Hawila with WFAA in Dallas, and we have more thunderstorms in the forecast Thursday. Additional rain and a few thunderstorms for parts of the state on Friday, and then still a low coverage of rain, mainly west. And honestly, this time of the year, we take whatever rain we can get across the state of Texas, and we've had a little bit too much for some. I will say that. I guess I should say this. I say we would take any rain we can get, but there's obviously a limit, and some parts of Central and South Texas have obviously seen way too much rain recently. But there is still scattered shower and thunderstorm chances in the forecast over the next couple of days. The Panhandle avoids a lot of that, stays in the upper 80s and low 90s through Amarillo through Saturday. Austin, scattered showers and storms Thursday, low chance on Friday, then back to the heat on Saturday. You see temperature-wise, not that bad for July in Texas. I mean, this is a time of the year where we can get stretches of 100-degree plus temperatures. Right now, low to mid 90s, acceptable. We'll take that. 91 in Houston on Thursday. We'll have scattered showers and storms in the forecast. Lubbock, a little bit of rain Thursday, Friday, highs in the 80s. Then back to the 90s on Saturday. San Antonio, Waco, a little break from the significant rain. We're not done completely, but the significant widespread heavy rain will take a bit of a pause. Here's Timecast showing you that. You still see some scattered showers and storms out toward Midland, Odessa, Abilene, even a little bit of scattered rain in Central and South Texas. See this low just sitting and spinning, generating more scattered shower and thunderstorm activity. Afternoon and evening, more scattered showers and storms Friday. There's the morning. You see the coverage has, diminished a lot. You know, we had these widespread heavy flooding rains in parts of South and Central Texas. That's come down in coverage. But Friday afternoon, Friday evening, scattered rain out toward West Texas up into the Panhandle. We'll continue to see a chance for scattered thunderstorms. Even on Saturday, a little bit of rain out toward Abilene, the Big Bend up to Midland, and even parts of the Panhandle, mainly south of Lubbock, I should say, really is where the better chance of rain is. And that'll do it for the widespread rain. We'll have some more redevelopment Saturday afternoon and evening. Midland, Alpine, we'll see a little bit of rain. That's the area that needs the rain the most. We've seen some pretty good improvements on the drought monitor as of late. We still have moderate to severe drought in parts of East Texas. A lot of this will get improved with the next drought monitor, but Austin down to San Antonio, and then the worst part of the drought in the state of Texas, certainly in the Panhandle, where we still have severe and extreme drought in parts of the state. So you can see there's not going to be much improvement there as over the next 7 days. Most of the rain stays out of the Panhandle. The heaviest rain where it has been pretty much all week, down toward San Antonio, parts of the hill country, getting into parts of West Texas, up toward Abilene, the Concho Valley. Half an inch to an inch, and then you could see some 2 to 3 plus inch amounts just to the west of San Antonio. Along the coast, about a 1/10 to a half an inch of rain. North Texas and East Texas, it's scattered activity. Unfortunately, many of you will miss out on the rain in North and East Texas, but for those that get under a thunderstorm or two, you could pick up a quick 1/4 to a half an inch of rain. That is certainly in the forecast. So we take a look at the forecast region by region. El Paso, Lubbock, Midland, out west. Temperatures not bad for this time of the year. Could be a lot worse. It usually is in the middle of July, but we'll be in the 90s again for most locations by the end of the week and into the weekend. Scattered shower and storm chances pretty minimal in this area. You'll see maybe Midland has a slightly better chance, especially Thursday, Friday. Central Texas, Austin, Waco, Fredericksburg, scattered showers and storms Thursday. lower coverage, not a 0% coverage. I'd say about a 10%, 20% on Friday. Then Saturday, we start to build the heat again. Austin and Waco are back into the middle 90s for the weekend. South Texas, San Antonio, Corpus, Laredo, more showers and storms. San Antonio area, you've seen a lot of rain recently. We're not done just yet. You'll get a little bit more on Thursday. Again, lower coverage on Friday. By Saturday, Laredo is already back to 104 degrees. So the heat is coming. North Texas, you can see how the heat starts to build for the weekend, back to the middle 90s. Scattered showers and storms for DFW, Weatherford, Denton, seeing a little bit of rain there with temperatures in the low 90s. East Texas, Houston, Beaumont, Tyler. I was showing you that rainfall map. Not a ton of rain in North or East Texas. Scattered rain, a few thunderstorms mainly Thursday. By Friday and Saturday, it's isolated at best as the heat begins to build. And then down in the valley, of course it's hot. McAllen, Brownsville, Mission, temperatures close enough to 100 degrees all of those days, and certainly in the triple digits Friday and Saturday for McAllen and Mission, with high temperatures in the triple digits. Minimal chance of rain, but it does look windy over the next couple of days.
I'm Isis Romero, and this is the news in San Antonio. Shop owners and emergency crews spent the day cleaning up after a tornado touched down at the rim on San Antonio's northwest side. Sue Kalperk has the latest.
And it sounded like a large train coming through.
First, it was shock and then amazement at the power of nature.
And I saw all these trees down on the floor, and I'm like, wow, what just happened?
At the Santikos Palladium Theater, the front facade of the building took a direct hit, but what looks like heavy structural components is actually styrofoam that they started hauling away and preparing for repair right away, which is happening everywhere.
Making sure we secure the site, just keep everybody safe who are in the area.
There will be plenty of work for everyone. Trees are down, several cars were walloped, patio areas were pancaked, and almost everywhere, nails. There's nails everywhere. This is a dangerous place, y'all. Stay away.
Leave it to the professionals.
Experts say they understand why people want to come see the damage, but they say staying away for now is the best idea.
Work on the game plan on putting all the pieces back together.
A tornado ripped off part of the roof at the Oasis Apartments near UTSA. As Andrew Moore reports, residents needed to be evacuated.
I mean, furniture was flying in the air. I thought the winds were extremely strong because everything was rattling and kind of shaking.
Rushing winds had Bria Escobar racing to get everything off of her porch this morning at the Oasis Apartments. As she grabbed her furniture, she saw other chairs had already been ripped away.
And I saw one in the air, skipping.
And for other tenants, it was worse. One building had part of the roof pulled off, and that left around a dozen people displaced as the city looks at the damage.
We are working very closely with the Red Cross to support any type of any of our community that is displaced.
UTSA Police Chief Stephanie Schoenborn later said the Red Cross would be assisting people at the UTSA campus in the meantime, and people still living at the complex will have to wait for the city to finish cleaning up the mess.
I think the apartments do have some backup generators here, so we are seeing some light, but I was not able to flush my toilet.
Heavy rain and flooding is also impacting Garner State Park in Concan. Rania Kaur was there.
In Concan, the Frio River has risen 10 feet since the storm began. This is what it looks like currently. It's been described as chocolate milk as it picks up debris and trees and everything along the lower levels of the river. Well, in just a couple of days, it's going to completely clean the river, bringing it back to its crystal clear state and without any rapids, making it the perfect place for campers. Right now, it's quite the hazard in the Concan area. In many places, the Frio River has risen, closing down low water crossings and Highway 83. So much of the area to get in and around Concan is closed right now. That's saying there are 15 camps and 20% of Garner State Park just a few miles away is occupied right now. First responders have been communicating with those camps and those campers, making sure they're aware of conditions and are ready to evacuate to higher ground if necessary. That's saying there are no evacuation notices in Concan at this point because first responders want to make sure that people are not on the roads. Instead, they're saying everyone who doesn't need to be on the roads to instead stay home. And if you see any water, to stay away, turn around, don't drown. That's saying this Frio River right here in Concan is expected to rise 6 feet over the next couple hours. In Concan, I'm Rania Kaur, sending it back to you.
And that's the news in San Antonio.
I'm Quita Culpepper in Austin, and kids are spending more time online than ever. Scammers and predators know it. A new app is helping families teach children how to spot online red flags before they become victims. KVU's Allison Hill spoke with the FBI about the app, and she has a closer look at how it works.
On a playground, it's easy to see who your kids are interacting with. But online, that's not always the case.
Technology is advancing very fast, and I've got 3 girls under the age of 13. For me, I try to keep up with the technology and the parental controls with the Apple and all the different apps, but it's really impossible and they find workarounds.
That's why the nonprofit Not on Our Watch Texas created Now Play Safe. It's an online game walking children through real-life online situations they could encounter, from chatting with strangers to recognizing red flags before a conversation becomes dangerous.
2 players you don't know just joined your public server.
We hope that this game, which is free and easy and fast and fun, gets in every child's hands this summer. Go into that gaming situation knowing what to do if a predator approaches them, having those conversations with their parents so the parents are aware, and then reporting these bad actors to the authorities.
We sat down with FBI Special Agent in Charge, Daniel Faith, who says online exploitation remains an everyday threat. Right now, the FBI is investigating more than 500 people believed to be connected to violent online networks. A number Faith says has doubled over the past year.
Whether it's games or social awareness campaigns or direct engagement with local law enforcement, raising the awareness of sexual predators to children and their parents is very, very important.
Both Faith and Sparks says education is one of the strongest tools a family can have.
Children can absolutely have a big role in keeping themselves safer online if they know what to look for.
Because while you can't watch every click, you can help your child know when something isn't right. In Austin, Allison Hill, KVU News.
Big moves were made on Wednesday for Austin's light rail project. The Austin Transit Partnership authorized an initial $39 million contract with Stadler U.S. Incorporated for preliminary design work on 21 train cars. While this is just the start, the total fixed price deal could reach nearly $353 million if the board approves full production later. The vehicles will be built to align with track and station designs that are already underway. And next up, the board will review the budget for the rest of the year while internal auditors follow up on past spending rules. More than 42 states and some consumers may get a share of tens of millions of dollars from a settlement with genetic profiling company 23andMe. According to the Texas Attorney General's office in 2023, 23andMe announced a data breach exposing a range of customer data, some containing ancestry information. 42 states, including Texas, joined an investigation, alleging the now bankrupt company failed to implement adequate safeguards against hacking. As part of the settlement, Texas will receive around $1.2 million. 23andMe also agreed to pay $46 million to consumers who applied for a class action lawsuit earlier this year. There's a new way for travelers, including the visually impaired, to navigate Austin's airport. KVU's Jessica Cha shows us how a new app can turn a crowded airport into something anyone can move through with confidence.
Every time you come to Austin's airport, it looks a little different.
Attention of terminal jet load areas.
New checkpoints, a new wall, and more ways to get turned around as it goes through construction. Especially if you can't see these changes.
There's a lot going on, and so we want to make sure that we're taking the next step to make sure that our building is accessible to any and all that come through our airport.
So Kimberly High with Austin's airport says their newest upgrade for visually impaired or blind travelers isn't at the gate. You can hold it in your hand.
Okay, so you can continue, forward here. This unlocked door in front of you, 10 feet.
Ira is a mobile app that passengers can use their mobile phone to use their camera and their microphone in order to be connected to a professional that does visual interpretation of the area.
High says the live agent tracks an interactive map of the airport as they guide you.
So checkpoint 1, it says make a left turn from where you are here.
And they watch your camera feed at the same time.
You have just some foot traffic in front of you, some travelers here, there.
So whether you need the live agent to read a sign,
Looks like the latest Atlanta, Georgia is 3 p.m.
or direct you to a resource,
I was wondering if you could take me to a pet relief area.
High says the app is here to guide you.
We're about halfway through July now, and already we've seen over 100 people using it with over 1,000 minutes of accessibility services. So it's clear that people are seeing a benefit in using this service here at AUS.
So once you download the Ira app onto your iPhone or your Android, it'll track your location at the airport, and you can use it for as long as you need for free. High says you can't use the guide as you go through TSA, but you can use it anywhere from the front door to your gate, because the building may be under construction.
Thank you so much for your help. I really appreciate it.
But with a voice in your ear, your route is clear. In Austin, Jessica Cha, KB News.
The city of Pflugerville is changing from private emergency medical services to public. Starting in October, the Travis County Emergency Service District Number 2 will respond to calls. The city previously had a contract with a private company, Allegiance Mobile Health. As part of the agreement, the city will pay $1.9 million for the first 2 years, and every year after that, the cost will go up 2.5%. For a special group of retirees who live at an Austin senior living community, every Tuesday is a very special day. Here's KVU's Bob Buckaloo.
It's almost dinner time at Austin's Westminster Senior Living Community in Central Austin. Every Tuesday, right before dinner, this special group of residents gets together to chat. After all, they have a lot in common. Each of them graduated from Austin High School, anywhere from 70 to 80 years ago. Carlene Johnson Jenkins graduated from Austin High in 1954. She was a popular student who made good grades. And she was a cheerleader. They called them yell leaders back then.
My uniform was made out of corduroy, and we were yelling in September. It went down to my ankles. And then we had Oxford shoes on. So we didn't tumble or anything. We just yelled.
Fellow cheerleader Mike Roach graduated in 1953 and still has the letter he earned.
I'd much rather play football, but I couldn't run across the field without, panting and running out of breath or falling down or something like that. I just am not coordinated.
Carlene says one of the highlights of the Austin High football season back then was the annual bonfire.
It was really a big thing for us to be able to have that at Pease Park.
Both Carlene and Mike went on to graduate from UT, raised families, and had successful careers, success that Mike credits to his Austin High teachers.
We had wonderful teachers. They were there because it was a commitment, it was a calling for them, and they were wonderful people. I can't think of one of them that I wouldn't enjoy having dinner with today.
Martha McAdams Vertrees graduated from Austin High in 1948. She says one of the most valuable lessons she learned is the importance of caring about others.
People are what you remember. Things come and go. People are forever.
Valuable lessons learned from living a long life. Lessons as important today as they were back then, when their world was much younger. Bob Buckaloo, KVUE News.
And that's all from us here in Austin. Hope you have a great day.
I'm Bailey Bates. Here are your headlines from Central Texas. Dozens of residents in Cameron are fed up with destructive flooding happening constantly at their apartment complex. We have followed the story for years. There were draining improvements made in 2023, but residents say it hasn't done any good. Our Adriana Alexander has more on these flooding problems.
Constant flooding has plagued the Williams Trace apartments in Cameron.
I hope they get it resolved, or else they're going to lose a lot of tenants, especially for the downstairs.
Ella Hart, who lives on the bottom floor, is all too familiar with the problem.
I was at dialysis. They said your apartment is flooded. I said, second time around.
When rain poured down Tuesday morning, the water from outside began to enter her unit and eventually reached up to her ankles.
This is the first time this year that it got inside the house.
Hart isn't the only resident dealing with this. Several others had to self-evacuate as water entered their units as well as reached inches high.
The sidewalks, I mean, they were covered.
For many others, their cars became undrivable.
I would hope that they would figure out some kind of drainage system.
When we first covered this story in 2023, we spoke to the owner of the property, Stephen Poe, about the flooding. He says the problem was being addressed.
Our option here is to build a big storm collection box, put heavy-duty pumps in there and just pump it into the ditches.
We reached out to Poe again for comment on the continued flooding. He did not respond. According to the maps of the area on the City of Cameron website, the complex is built in a flood zone. Several residents told me they signed a waiver acknowledging that when they moved in, but they say the flooding they're experiencing goes far beyond what they expected.
The drainage system seems like it's not doing any good if we keep getting flooded out.
The mayor told us that because the complex is private property, there is nothing the city can do to help. New questions and no final decision after Killeen City Council met to discuss the future of the city's mold-plagued animal center. Council members heard from city staff and members of the public as they weigh whether to remodel the building or start over. Our Adrian Carbajal was there.
Months after mold forced the Killeen Animal Center to close, city leaders are still trying to decide what comes next. The city bought the building for nearly $1.8 million, but officials say major problems began only 2 years later. Tuesday, city staff told council the building was never designed to withstand the daily washdowns required for an animal shelter, allowing moisture to build up over time.
So at the time, we thought, okay, we found a solution. We've been able to house additional pets. We thought we were in good shape, and then at that point, clearly when we saw the mold, we're doing something wrong, so we had to stop.
Testing in May confirmed the presence of mold, and the city spent about $44,000 on remediation, which is now complete. Now, officials say they plan to hire an architect to determine whether the building can be remodeled or if other options make more sense.
Is it cheaper to do an addition just for kennel space in the back than it is to force the existing space to work for kennel space specifically? We want to know what those options are, what the costs involved are before we make any decision. And that's what we'll bring back to you.
Some council members question whether it's worth investing even more money into the building or whether the city should sell it and build a new animal shelter.
I have a concern about any additional funding being approved at this time unless we have some serious positions in place for council oversight on those dollars.
This could become a money pit if not done right, not done correctly. I'm just want to be cautious about before we start committing large funds that we evaluate all options.
City staff estimates the building's purchase, remediation, and proposed renovations would total about $3.45 million in total.
Well, no vote was taken during the meeting, and for now, the city will move forward with hiring an architect to study the building and present options to council before leaders decide whether to remodel the current facility or build something new. Those are your headlines from Central Texas.
Here's your headlines from Southeast Texas. I'm Mark Armstrong. Heavy rain caused problems in Southeast Texas Tuesday. 2 to 4 inches of rain fell in Beaumont, leaving several streets flooded and only passable by high clearance trucks. And flooding in Lumberton plagued neighborhoods even after the rain stopped. One Dennis Road resident says he received 6 inches of rain in less than 4 hours. 12 News reporter Ebony Coleman has more.
It was raining so hard, so fast.
Heavy rain showers across the city of Lumberton Tuesday morning left East Candlestick Drive and Matthews Lane looking like lakes.
I was awake at 4 o'clock this morning. When we hear the thunder, it's kind of like a fire alarm going off.
City Manager Steve Clark says crews immediately began barricading areas to keep residents safe.
My guys know and what to look for.
He says the city is also working to mitigate flooding by spending $6 million to expand a detention pond on Highway 421.
We put in a 32-acre detention pond, and we're in the process of adding an additional 65-acre, and that's going to hold a lot of water, not just city water, but it's going to take county water.
Ernie Cook, Hardin County Commissioner for Precinct 4, says it's just one of several projects taking place.
We have one project that's currently in operation, and it mostly pertains with the Woodcrest subdivision. We have another project that's on the south end of Lumberton involving one of the outfall ditches that will be concreted.
For residents like Mike McGill, who lives on Dennis Road, he says his biggest concern was water getting into his neighbors' homes.
Trucks that were going through and throwing water up like 3 and 4 feet up in the air, just blasting through it. How would you feel if your house was on the verge of flooding and somebody comes speeding down the road?
Meanwhile, back at City Hall, both Clark and Cook agree it's a team effort to try and improve the quality of life for residents.
When you move here, you want a place to put your home. You want a home that's not going to flood.
We have to work together because it's each of our problems, and we're trying to do it for the citizens.
That was Ebony Coleman reporting. Clark says the detention pond project that should be completed sometime next year, and it's being paid for by a grant from the Texas General Land Office. 12 News is checking in with the newest Silsbee Animal Control Officer after 2 months on the job, as city leaders and many residents say they're already seeing signs of progress. This comes following that public scrutiny after the former officer was charged with improper euthanasia and animal cruelty involving several dogs. 12 News reporter Daniela Taboada-Palau, she has more on what's changed at the animal shelter.
I think things are changing positively.
After months of public scrutiny following charges against former leadership over alleged improper euthanasia, Silsbee's Animal Control Center is working to turn the page. Kaylin Evans has stepped into the role, and some residents say things seem to be getting better.
The cleanliness at the shelter, the social media to expose the dogs that she has picked up in the community. She's doing a fabulous job on that.
Evans says she applied to the role knowing the job wouldn't be easy.
I knew it was going to be hard. I knew it was going to be difficult and challenging, but I knew that somebody that had a passion for animals needed to step up and do that.
Evans says she stepped into the role with 4 years of experience working with animals at the Beaumont Humane Society. She says that connection has continued to help her.
The Humane Society, they are working with us. They helped us get one of the dogs fixed that we had here. They are pulling dogs when they have the space to.
2 months after Evans took the leadership role, Silsbee Animal Control Center is seeing community support through donations. But Michelle Ladner, who uncovered the remains of the dogs at the center of the investigation, says there's still a long road ahead.
I think people still need to be held accountable. I think the community needs to step up and help in regards to the overpopulation of the dogs by spay and neutering their dogs.
That was Daniela Taboada-Palau reporting. Evans says that she hopes the city is going to hire part-time employees in the future and construct a new building at the shelter. Silsbee Mayor Danny Renaud says those ideas have not yet been formally presented to the council, but he is open to the discussion. And those were the headlines here from Southeast Texas.
Hi, I'm Dan Millay, and here's what's making headlines across East Texas. A Palestine family is remembering a woman who they say always put others first. 63-year-old Cynthia Donnell was one of 5 people killed in a head-on crash along Highway 155 near Flint last Thursday. CBS 19's Renee Estrada spoke with her sisters about the life Cynthia lived and the legacy she leaves behind.
Highway 155 near Flint now marks the place where 5 lives were lost in a devastating head-on crash last Thursday. Among them was 63-year-old Cynthia Donnell of Palestine.
My sister had a kind heart, and she was always trying to give you what she didn't even have, and she loved her family.
Cynthia's sister Valerie Cook says her love for her family was something Cynthia made sure they never had to question.
But every night she texted me and said she loved me, or said that said good night, and that's the last thing that I saw of her was she said good night.
Cynthia was the youngest of her siblings, forever known as the baby of the family. And while she never had children of her own, her nieces and nephews held a special place in her heart.
She loved children, family, and since she never had kids, she would always want her nieces and nephews was her kids, and she always played around with them.
Her other sister, Rose Warren, says Cynthia's love for cooking was something that brought them closer together. After their mom made sure they grew up as close siblings, Cynthia kept that bond strong.
We grew up cooking, and so I would cook something, and then I would see her, and she said, "Oh, I fixed that already the other day," you know. But we loved cooking because our mom made sure that we knew how to cook.
Her family is cherishing the time they had with Cynthia and leaning on each other as they prepare to say their final goodbyes.
I just want everybody to just keep us in their prayers and keep having fond memories of her, and she'll never be forgotten.
In Palestine, Renee Estrada, CBS 19.
A critical need for blood donors is growing across East Texas as the summer months bring fewer donations and an increased need from hospitals. The American Red Cross has declared an emergency blood shortage nationwide, and local blood centers say they are feeling the impact. Carter Blood Care says summer is one of the most challenging times of the year for donations. Many high school blood drives are paused during summer break, and fewer workplace blood drives are held, creating a gap at a time when the need for blood never stops.
There are a lot of patients that need blood on a consistent basis if they're getting treatments for cancer, for sickle cell, for example. There are some that have to go and get transfusions every 3 weeks. And if the blood isn't there, that procedure can't be performed.
Right now, Carter Blood Care says it is especially in need of O blood type. O negative is considered to be the universal donor, meaning it can be used for any patient, while O positive is often needed for trauma patients, including those involved in serious accidents. Officials say donating is a quick process, usually taking less than an hour, and one donation can help save up to 3 lives.
In East Texas, we are certainly running at an urgent level. Urgent meaning that we have 2 to 3 days worth of supply on hand, but we're also borderline critical. And when we hit critical, that means that we have less than a day's worth on hand.
They're asking anyone eligible to consider donating and helping keep blood available for patients who need it most. And that's a wrap for your East Texas headlines. I'm Dan Millay.
I'm Mike Gillespie in Corpus Christi, and here's a look at some of what's making news in South Texas. A federal judge has dismissed Corpus Christi Mayor Paulette Guajardo's lawsuit aimed at stopping an upcoming removal hearing. The mayor argued that she was denied due process and unfairly singled out, but as Natalia Osuna shows us, the ruling now allows the removal process to move forward.
In Corpus Christi, Mayor Paulette Guajardo's effort to stop removal proceedings in federal court has reached a roadblock, giving the city a victory in the latest round of the legal fight.
If perhaps the judge saw our city council meeting yesterday, I think that would be an example of the bias of the individuals that are involved in the impeachment hearings.
City Councilman Roland Barrera says he stood by the mayor since the start of the process.
The real loser in this is the taxpayer and the residents of Corpus Christi, because we have very serious issues that we're trying to pursue. And I think all these issues with the impeachment hearing are just, political theater.
Councilman Eric Cantu disagrees. He's one of 5 city council members that were also listed as defendants in the lawsuit.
This is not taking a lot of time from our jobs. We're not just
dealing with this every day. We're dealing with water issues right now. We're dealing with public safety.
Others listed as defendants are council members Carolyn Vaughn, Gil Hernandez, Sylvia Campos, and Kaylin Paxson. The ruling now clears the way for that process to move forward.
The federal judge dismissed the mayor's attempt to stop the hearing process. It's time to let the process work. If there's nothing to hide, there should be nothing to fear.
But the mayor's legal team is not backing down, filing an appeal of the judge's ruling. In a statement to 3 News, John Flood, the mayor's lawyer, says, quote, "The mayor respects the court and understands that it believes that a duly elected official does not have a protectable interest under Section 1983. We believe the law is that an elected official does have a legal interest in the office they hold, and we will ask the Fifth Circuit Court of Appeals to reverse that decision." End quote.
Natalia Osuna reporting. A deadly shooting involving a Corpus Christi father and son is raising questions tonight about how a mental health crisis is handled. Specifically, what happens when someone reaches out to a crisis hotline for help? Josh Maxwell spoke with police and mental health officials about what happens after that call is made.
New details are emerging in a Southside shooting investigation, where police say 20-year-old Marcus Xavier Benavides shot and killed his father Monday night. According to the arrest affidavit, Benavides was experiencing a mental health episode at the time of the shooting. It states he had recently spent some time in the hospital under antipsychotic medication and had been experiencing drug withdrawals. About an hour before the deadly shooting took place, his mother had contacted a crisis hotline after Benavides said he was, quote, needing help and wasn't feeling right, adding that he was nodding at the ceiling as though someone was there.
So as soon as they're making that phone call, they're talking to somebody who is a qualified mental health professional.
Ruth Younger with the Nueces Center for Mental Health and Intellectual Disabilities, or MHID, says for those who call their crisis hotline, they are met immediately with help.
That person is screening them for mental health. They are using de-escalation techniques, safety planning, making any type of referrals needed, and overall just seeing how they can help.
And over the years, Younger says she's noticed a pattern.
There has been an increase in those who are actually open to seeking services, and they're contacting us, whether that's calling the local crisis hotline, whether that's calling 988.
3 News requested 10 years of mental health call data from CCPD. The records show officers are responding to far more of those calls today than they were a decade ago.
They'll try and find any hooks or try and kind of catch on to maybe a theme of why they're feeling the way that they're feeling. If it's something that the person is an immediate danger to themselves or others, then we will take them to a hospital under an emergency detention warrant.
As mental health calls have increased, CCPD says its partnership with MHID has given officers additional tools to respond to people in crisis.
And we kind of get familiar with them and what they need. Maybe they haven't got their medication for whatever reason in X amount of time, so it could be causing them to have or be in crisis.
Josh Maxwell, thank you. That is a quick look at some of what's making news in South Texas.